I made some slides. So I made some slides in Figma because why not? So this is the falling in love with homework, my introduction to Figma talk, where I'm doing this on my Chromebook actually because part of my thing was I wanted to show that you can do this on a Chromebook. I was going to do it on my Raspberry Pi, but I was getting a bunch of lag on that, and it looks like I'm getting some lag here too. But we'll take it slow and we'll make it through it. Okay, so everyone can see the like squarish slide, right?
Yes, it looks good.
Okay, good. So here's here's kind of what we're going to do. I'm going to introduce myself. We'll go over some of the dislikes that I have with Figma. We'll talk about the things I do like, and then the rest of the time we're just going to spend in demo where we're just hacking away at stuff. So my name is Guy, obviously. We already know that. I listed a couple things that I like. I won't read them to you because you can see them. I'm married, and like I mentioned, my wife and I were buying a house, and so my little family of 3, we're getting ready to move to another place in Bolivar. I'm still a student at SVU, which is what sparked this whole talk, as you all know. And yeah, I think this is technically my senior year, but it's a complicated process because I'm like, yeah, anyways, I'm a non-traditional student, but we won't go into that. So here are some of the things that I had in my backlog that I thought we could go over. First thing I wanted to do is we're going to update. I have this little PyNav idea for navigation, especially on mobile, and we'll go over that in a little bit. But I wanted to update that to use the icons that I've made, and then I wanted to add some more animations and transitions, add comments because I had to export things as PDFs for my professor, and I wanted to take those comments that I drew with the pen tool and the text tool. I wanted to put them as proper comments, which would be much more like a Figma way of doing things. We're going to get rid of the caterpillar if we get there. You'll see what I mean pretty immediately. And if we get to it, we'll add a light theme. I doubt we'll get that far, but we'll see where we go. And oh, here's that. It goes back. All right. The stop share thing is blocking my go back to the other screen, so I have to open it up again. Okay, so we'll go over some of the things that I like and don't like about Figma. First thing I don't like, I always think it's better to start off with the things you don't like and then finish with the good news. So the things that I don't like about Figma are really, I have a dislikes list here. You can see the comments. So Figma is not really, I don't feel like it was that easy to learn. They have their own way of doing things that's different than like what I'm mostly used to is the Adobe suite, Photoshop, InDesign, etc. And while a lot of the hotkeys are the same, and like the way you can move around with like holding your space bar and dragging your mouse and stuff, all of that is the same, but the organization of how things like layers are grouped together and all of that is weird. It took a while to get used to, and I still don't know that I actually do it is like as far as best practices would be. They have a weird way of doing like organization. So this is what we're in right now is a file, and I guess this kind of makes sense from a metaphor perspective, but we have one file has many or one or more pages. And so like here's the screens that we'll get to in a little bit, and all of these are in one page. You can link components and stuff between pages, but not between files, which is kind of weird. So whereas like I would think that you could grab, you could have a bunch of different individual files of your components or whatever, and you could just bring them all in as you need to each and every page. But it doesn't work that way. So that's a little weird. And then developer handoff. So developer handoff is one of the things that was like what I first was drawn to about Figma. When I saw advertisements for it, it was in the web, it was free, and developer handoff was awesome. That's what I was, that's how they advertised it. And I thought that's really cool. And what I expected was that I could like make a component and export the HTML and CSS, drop it in my code, and I'm off to the races. But it doesn't work exactly like that. And on further reading, I found that they actually say it's not really intended to be geared that way, which is that was a surprise to me. I didn't expect that. So we'll get into that a little bit. If I forget, anybody and everybody can feel free to hop in at any time. I think this will go better if I get feedback. So, but that's, whatever. The other thing is, this one is a little annoying. So when you add this is like the default layer ordering. I'll just go ahead and we'll add a square, and you can see that the square is like this rectangle is added to the top of the list, and that makes sense because it's like this is the way that the layers are ordered. But when I'm adding a bunch of things, especially frames, we'll get into how the organization kind of works. But if I'm going to like copy and paste a new frame or something, usually what I'm thinking is that it would be like the next logical down in the ordering of everything here, but it goes on top, which is weird. And that's just, I've never gotten used to that. Any questions so far about the dislikes? Okay, cool. Then we'll move on. That's how you make a comment. That was an accident, but that's how you make a comment. So the likes. There are a lot of things that I like about Figma. Of course, it's in the web. That's amazing. It's free. That's also amazing. You can do a lot with what's freely available. In fact, almost everything that I have done so far is available in just the free tier that you get. So that's really cool. And you can have like one project as a with the free, like the starter tier, I think is what they call it. You can have one project, but you can have as many files as you want and as many pages as you want within that plan, if I remember correctly, which is really cool. So that really means you could have, you could have as many projects in reality as you wanted, because you could add a bunch of different pages and have one file dedicated to each project. That's something that I saw somebody recommend. There are these cool things called libraries that we'll get into in a little while, and the libraries, you can export, like you can publish components and assets and styles to a library, but in order to put pull things from libraries in other files, you have to have a paid plan. So you can still work around that by doing bunches of different pages, but that's yeah, that's one of the ways that they make their money, which is fine. Money's not bad. I love the exports. You can take anything and you can export it, which is super cool. And what I actually did for a lot of things, like all of my icons, is I just went down and I hit export, and you have all of these different options for your exporting. And one of the things you can do is you can export SVG, and it's actually like really pretty performant SVG. I was looking at some of the more simple things I was exporting. They were like parallelograms, and it's like 4 lines or something for an SVG, and it's really nice. What I've always heard, I've not used like any other real design software like Sketch or something, but what I've always heard is that you should, if you export SVG from something, you should then run it through some like SVG for performance tool or something like that. And I've had 0 issues with that. So I thought that's really cool. Whatever the name of the thing is, that's what it will be down here, like .svg. And then you can preview the export, of course. And so that's really nice. Let's see. Yeah, plugins, they're supposed to be really cool. They have a really robust set of plugins. I bookmarked one over here. This is pretty cool. So I've not used this yet, but this is a community plugin where you can set your breakpoints for different frames. Like, so, you know, like they have watch, phone, tablet, laptop, and desktop here, and it will adjust your it'll add all of your layout frames to part of a design, and so you can yeah, get some really cool. They have a there's a video on the Twitter account there. You can see the demo here if you want to. That where they kind of show off some of the ways, some of the things you can do with it, which is really cool. There are a bunch of different plugins that people have made. I've seen some really cool ones. I haven't used any of them yet, but the idea behind them is really cool. Oh yeah, there's a video that I was gonna share that I have some friends at Crema. Some of you might know CK Hicks, who used to be in the area here. He works at Crema now, and some of their designers in their free time, they figured out how to get Figma to work on iPad OS. So the guy connects a Bluetooth mouse and is working on Figma and Chrome on iPad, which is pretty cool. The idea that you could use professional grade mock-up and prototyping software on your iPad is just otherworldly. And of course, it works anywhere else that you can have a mouse. I wouldn't dare try to do this without a mouse, but like I said, I'm doing this on my Chromebook. You can see there it is. There's my little dashboard. And yeah, it's cool that you can do it and it's not tied down to an OS. The rest of it, this is the more fun stuff. We'll get out of the lame things, and we'll start looking at some cool stuff. So hopefully you think it's cool. So the way that they organize things in Figma, you have at the very bottom, you have a we'll look at this frame first. So at the very base of it, you have layers, which should be pretty familiar to anybody who's used any kind of design software. You've got every kind of component, and everything is made up of layers. And yet you can group things together. So this is just a group here, and you can see that it's a group by the little outline. And so this is just two sets of text items. What do they call them? Just text blocks, I guess, that are grouped together. And so I can move them around as one group, and they stick together like that. But you can do more than that. And this is the thing that I think is like the coolest part about Figma is components. So to make something into a component, you can just right click the group, or you can like select various layers and you can create a component out of them. Or they have this nice little hotkey for it too. And the super cool thing about components is you can change a component, and then you have the option to push the changes to the master. So you have version control for your components, just like we do as devs in our React projects or whatever, which is super duper cool. And so then I can just drag this out when I might make a new one, and there it is. It's the same component. I can resize it if I need to, and make it. I can adapt it to meet the specific need that I have. And then if I decide I wanted to change something permanently, you can push the overrides to master. So I'll just for the sake of it, I'll do an example here. And this will show off some of the other things that we have that are cool parts about Figma as well. So here you can see I have these colors, and this is selecting all of the layers here. You can have styles that are shared across files and pages as well. So this right here is the black, and I'll just change that, and now it's using the black that I have pulled from my design system that I've identified. So I have this portfolio colors page that has all the different colors that are set up as part of the design system that rudimentary design system that I built. And so now wherever I am on any given page, or file, I can pull these colors in, and I can make sure that I have a consistency of colors, and any other designer who comes in doesn't have to memorize them, which like to memorize the hex codes or whatever, which is really nice. So now I have the red and the light red, and now all of this is using the design, like the colors that are in my design system, and I can change. I have these changes. I can publish them here. They also recommend having like a description. So this is just the nav button, and I can, let's see. I can't, where is it? We can publish 10 changes. So you can also fine tune the changes that you want to publish. So I think you can. There's got to be a way, but we'll just publish all of them. And then just like you have a commit message or something, typically you are, well, not required, but it's encouraged that you give a description of some of the changes. So we'll just say that there's other changes in here apparently, but we'll say that we unified the nav button. And now we publish the changes. So now here's what's cool. If I were doing this in a way, like if I was in a big team and I was using this professionally and it was more than just me, What I would do at this point is I would pull out all of my components and I'd put them in a different file. And then as a developer, I could go in and we'll go back to the files, and you can see here in iconography, for example. So here I have some icons, and as a developer, I could go in here and I could say, oh, here's, some of the code that we have. Here are the colors, and I can look at all the different colors and see, all of the options, right, and what the values are. And if I was doing this in a more professional way, like as a big team, I'd put all of my components in one file, and I'd have different pages for the different kinds of components. So I'd have some for like, nav related things, and I'd have some for like forms and, and whatever else. And then that would, as a designer, when I go to hand off the specifications to the developers, as I make changes to the component and I push those changes to the master component, when the moment that the developer goes to that page to grab the component, they have the latest changes. So if we decide we're going to change the red to be, I don't know, a little bit lighter or a little bit darker, then the moment that we publish those changes, every developer on the team can go and grab and see those changes, which is really cool. Yeah, I think there's a lot that I've covered so far, I think. Are there any questions at this point? Okay. Well, please feel free to ask if you have questions. I'm not an expert in Figma, but I have played around and blundered around enough that I feel like I know a little bit. I'll show you something else. So here's some of the things that are another one of the things that's cool. I had the other little presentation. This is how you can do. This is really for prototyping, and you can share a prototype. I can grab this and I could say you can view the prototype, and I can copy a link. I think you have to have. Oh, okay. Anyone with a link. There we go. So I can copy the link, and I could share this in the chat. I don't know that I will, but I could share this in the chat. Maybe I will afterwards. And then you could, if you have an account, I think this is your only requirement, that you can go in and you can click around this prototype and you can see everything. So this is pretty rudimentary, what I have here at the moment. This is just to show the kind of the nav interaction. So the idea is that you'd click on the little search button and it would open up, and these are supposed to be links to the different pages up here, and that's one of the things that I wanted to cover while we were here together. We're going to change these X's to use the icons, and that was one of the ideas that I had that I just didn't get around to doing when I was doing the mock-ups. And that's all I have for this little prototype, because the goal here is just to show that. And you can do all kinds of different prototypes. You can have incredibly complex ones. They have some examples that are pretty robust. You can do all kinds of animations with them too. So the one that I had here is to open an overlay. You can do navigate to, swap with, you can go back, open a link, all kinds of different options, and they have different ways that you can do them and align them that make it, that where you can kind of fine tune and pretty much any major animation that you would want outside of like something really complex that you'd have to do. You'd have to like work with on the front end as a dev anyways. You'd have to do a lot of work to implement. But pretty much any major animation you can just do right here, which is pretty sweet. And I think that there's a plugin that will also like generate some handoff code for the animations, but don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure it's out there, but I haven't played with it yet. I guess I'll go ahead and show you the handoff at this point. So you can see here it shows position absolute, and then it has the width and height left and top. Obviously, this is not best practice for how we design most things today, because we want things to be responsive. And having absolute positioning is not the easiest thing to have responsive. Whereas we could do something, we could do percentages, and we could do flex box or grid or whatever else. Um, I was really frustrated when I first saw this, but there are some nice things about it. So if I were to I don't remember how, but you can grab the colors out of this, or you can add them to it or whatever. And what I ended up doing the most is I would just grab, so like I would group the two figures here that make a magnifying glass, and I would export them as an SVG if I wanted to do that, or as a PNG or JPEG or whatever. That's mostly what I would end up doing, and I'll show you where I did that the most was over here. We have I had these different stripes. I wanted to do something that'd be a little bit fun and kind of colored, but also distinguish the different pages a little bit. And all of these I just ended up grabbing as SVGs, and I exported them. So you can see there's these design stripes. This is a group here, and I exported them as SVG, and here, I'll go ahead and export it, and we can. It's not going to let me see the code from here, but I would maybe if we get some time on at the end, I can pull up the code and you can see how the actual export works. That's not what I wanted to do. All right, so that's more or less an introduction to Figma. We should probably move on to some of the things that I said we would get to. So the iconography, we'll go back over to that, and then maybe we can do some animations. I think the comments will be maybe a better use of time. All right, so we're gonna, this one, I think at this point it's kind of arbitrary, but we have, so this right here in the actual site, this code right design thing here is on a little slider, so they are like a carousel kind of idea. They vertically rotate up and animate. And so it might be best, since the code is the one that shows first, we'll change this to use the code icon. The first thing I'm going to do with this is I just made these into frames initially, because what I really did was I have this closed nav component, and I broke them out since they're different, and I changed the names, and I detached them from the instance of the component, which is something that you can do if you want to make changes and not have to worry about them being directly connected to the component. This is a really easy way to make new components that are similar to previous ones. So that's what we'll do here. This is a little vector that I drew. We're going to delete that, and we're going to we'll go over to the assets and open up the library, and we've got the iconography here. So this is my little code icon. I'm going to drop this right in there, and then You can see this comes in at 280 by 280, but this is 140 by 140, so we'll shrink this down. I'm just holding Shift, just like you would in something like Photoshop or whatever. If you don't get it pixel perfect, you can go over here and we'll just adjust it. And looks like that thickened the borders, which is interesting. Huh, I didn't scale this down. That's really interesting. Maybe we can come back to that when we get time. Okay, let's check the size of this first. That's 70 or 60 by 60. Okay, well, we'll make this, I think 80 by 80 would be better. So so there's that. We'll have to definitely adjust the size of, or the thickness of the little figures there, but there's that. So now we have this component here, but I can go ahead and I can hit Control, I think it's Control Alt K. Nope. Yeah, there it is. So I just made that into a component. And now I can go over here to my assets and I can click on the little book and I can publish this change. And that change is that I made this into a component. So we can say added the code nav component. And that's that. So as soon as this is done publishing, which it is, now anybody could go out here to the, they could go out to the assets and they would see it here and they could just grab it and they could pull in a copy. And it's the same exact dimensions, which is cool. It makes like reuse super easy. It's the whole reason that we like have separation of concerns in our code, and the whole reason that we do composition and all of those other cool things that we do in code. Figma decided to bring into this design process. So we'll change the design one now, and we'll delete that. Same thing, we'll go over here to the library, we'll grab our icon, and here's the caterpillar I was talking about. That's so awkward. I was trying, I don't know what I was thinking initially, but what I was trying to do was combine the same shapes to make some kind of like a light bulb was really the original idea, but I got feedback that looks more like a caterpillar. So that's what I've been calling it since. Eventually I'm going to go through and I'm going to change that little icon. I don't know what I'm going to change it to yet, though. Does anybody else think it looks like a caterpillar?
I see that. What you stated.
Yeah. It's all right. That's why we iterate. So there's that. And then again, we can just do the same thing where we create this component, and then we can publish the changes right now, or we could publish them later. Micro commits are awesome, so let's publish it now. All right, so we'll do the last one. It's going to be the same thing, of course. Oh, that's weird. It's down here. Oh, see, this is one of the things I was talking about. I didn't proof any of this before I jumped in. This is one of the things I was talking about where like I copied and pasted this and it changes, it keeps the name, which that makes sense. But the order is different. And so this really should be like contact, but I think what I'm going to do is just delete that for now. And then we'll change this one. Oh, it didn't link. Okay, so they look totally awful because the lines are super thick, but we have these changed, which is kind of neat. Make that into a component. We'll hit publish again. Oh, I'm typing into the search bar, aren't I? Okay, we are at, I have 723. So we've gone for a while. Is there anything in particular that somebody would like to see? This has not really been a whole lot of demo. I guess it's mostly just been kind of walking around. But if there's anything in particular that you'd like to see or you want me to try and make a fool of myself doing, I'm happy to try it.
I had just a quick general question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
With it being web-based, as you're using it on your device, have you found it to be laggy at all compared to a native installed app, or has it been pretty snappy?
It's really snappy on my, so like on my work computer. It's lightning fast. The only thing that is maybe a little bit slow is like launching a prototype, but I think that's kind of understandable anyway. I don't imagine that would be quick on anything really, because it's uh, doing so much. So if we go back over to the slides, I'll just show how you can see how long it takes to load everything up. Part of the speed issues here is that it's on my Chromebook, and so this Chromebook is several years old, and it only has like 3 gigs of RAM, and they're not the most performant machines anyways. But I feel like we've gotten through this pretty decently, and the only thing that's really been that laggy, I think, has been this here, this prototype and presentation. I guess you guys could be the judge of how it works on Chromebook. You're the ones who have to sit and watch me do everything rather than do it yourself. But I think performance is not an issue for me.
Okay, thanks. And then just a quick follow-up, if I may. Does it
Sure.
have an offline mode if you don't have good connectivity wherever you're working from?
Yeah, they just released a desktop app pretty recently. Of course, it's going to not take me to the home page unless I log out. So we'll do that real quick. If I can figure out how. Oh, there it is. So, yeah, they have a desktop app now, which is pretty cool. Let's see. I don't remember where it is, but Yeah, they released it. I think it's just on Mac right now because they're going pretty hard after Sketch, which is definitely the standard in the industry. Um, and I think they're giving Sketch a run for their money, especially because with Figma you don't really need Envision since you have a prototyping tool that you can do a lot with anyways. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. They also have collaboration, which we didn't do today, but maybe sometime we could do like a follow-up and we could all jump in on something and build something from scratch. That'd be kind of fun. Because it does support collaboration, just like you can see here all these people are working on the same thing at the same time. I've done it with 2 different devices open, but that's not something I wanted to try with my Wi-Fi and presenting at the same time.
Looks like they have a desktop app for both Windows and Mac.
Oh, great.
Their help site.
Good. Glad you found it. Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions or anything they want to see?
So I guess my question would be like, what is the process for adding a new artboard and starting a new design?
Oh yeah, that's a really great question. So here's the dashboard. I don't know what they actually call it, but here's the dashboard. Oh, pro tip, if you're a student, you can get their $12 a month plan for free as long as like forever, it seems like. So that's pretty cool while I'm thinking about that. But you can just this will add a new file. And like I said, you have many pages within a file. So if I wanted to add a new page, or a new file, that'd be here, and you just give it a title. And then we can add a frame, and they have some pre-designed ones, but you'd add a frame here and you can fill it. We'd add some other stuff, and then you could add another page, and we'd do the same thing. So you have your frames that everything is boxed in at, and so then if we were to have various assets and stuff, we would put them in here. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, that's good.
Cool. Thank you for pointing that out. I didn't even think about showing that because I didn't think I would get there.
So have you tried to implement any of your designs into code?
Yeah, this is actually living somewhere. I don't remember where exactly it's living. Let me grab the link and I can show it to you. I didn't ever get that PyNav working because I was under the deadline that I had, and I've just been too busy with life to get back to it, unfortunately. Let's see. I've hosted it on Netlify for now.
What was your experience in getting it moved over from design to your code? Was it like super easy or?
That's a really good question too. Here. Well, I'll pull it up and you can see, and I'll walk through some of the best thing about it was not found. Did I type it right? Okay, I may have pulled it down. They the stripes that I had pulled up in the designs, those were really slick to try and port over. Um, I loved that. That was like really easy. I was also doing the site in Gatsby, and it was my first time building a Gatsby site. So I don't know how much of my experience was affected by everything being so new to me. Yeah, so here's the site. You can see here's the little icons and stuff. And all of these little icons I just exported as SVG. And that was really easy. That part was really, really nice. If we go over here, since it's on Gatsby, everything's server-side rendered. And so the performance issues of having like a million images. I don't really have a million images anyways, but your build step would be huge, but you don't really have a whole lot of loading time that you have to worry about. So you can see these are really nice. I felt like the actual like layout of things was kind of up to me. But I realized since, and this is something I should probably share, Figma has, you can do layout in grids and stuff, and I bet that the handoff would be much better that way. So I'll just make a frame here and we'll do it on the Pixel 2 because why not? So you can do layout, and we can change the kind of layout from a grid to like columns. We can change the number of columns. And so now we've got all of our 12 columns like you would have in Bootstrap or something. And you can lay things out here, and then you can actually end up exporting these as layouts. And you can do auto layout here where it will like automatically lay out things. And that's part of what that one responsive plugin that I shared earlier does, is it uses all of the layouts. And I didn't learn about that until a couple weeks ago. So if I had known that when I started with Figma, I probably would have done things a lot differently, and I imagine that the handoff would have been a lot easier because you can already see this is display flex, and it's got column and padding and all of those things already built in. Okay, I don't think I have anything else. I think to try and get through other stuff would be maybe a little too much. I guess we could maybe do the comments, but I've already kind of shown off the comments a little bit. I guess this might be a neat way to show off the pen tool. It has a pen tool just like you have in Photoshop and InDesign and stuff, and it does vector pen drawings. So you can see here, these are the things I made for my professor, and I would just instead, I'd go over here and I would just make a comment here that says, this opens the nav. And you can post the comment, and then anybody who has the ability to see this board can see these comments, which is a nice, much more elegant way to annotate things, especially if you don't have to like print out your designs or anything. So that's all of that. Any other last questions or anything? Okay. Well, cool. I guess I'll be done. And unless anyone else has anything that they wanted to bring up, then yeah, I'm good. I'm done.
Thanks, guy.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Valerie. That was really, really, really informative.